Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. In this episode, we are going to paint some tropical leaves with acrylic paints. So let's get started. And if you're new here, check out my acrylic painting quick start guide in the description below. There you can also find a free link to the sketch and the paints that I'm using and the brushes as well. So let's get started. And I'm going to start with a dark value and use a size 3 flat brush. So this is going to be a great tutorial to work on your blending and also your values because we're not using too many different colors. And let's start with putting in some of the dark values. I'm going to mix up a dark value to begin with. So I'll take some of this Evergreen and then mix it with some black. And then let's start putting that in as a shadow. So it's a really intense dark green value. That kind of goes around the outer edge. Then I can also put it in as some of these darker leaves that are sort of in the shadow. Okay, let's transition that color. I'm going to mix some gray in there, and the gray has a little bit of white in it, so it's going to make it a little bit lighter in value. Let's start putting that in. Okay, and this side, I want it to stay cooler on the left side and then be warmer and lighter on the right. So now I'm going to take just a straight evergreen and start putting that in. This is also a good tutorial to work on your brush work and your brush strokes. A size flat brush is great to practice your brush work because you can't be as precise with it, so it makes you automatically kind of loosen up. Okay, so now let's go to the other side, and I'm going to add some white paint into this green. It's going to give us a lighter value. So let's start putting that in. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up some of this warmer green. Let's mix some of the evergreen in with that warm green and start putting that in, kind of in between those white spaces. Okay, continuing that lighter value. Okay, and then I think I'll put a little bit more of the light value up here. Just kind of feather that in. Okay, so that's a good base for this one. And then we can also do the stem of the leaf. And I'm going to use this light green color and just use the edge of my brush and feather that in. Okay, so that looks good. So now let's work on this leaf up here. And we'll do the same thing. So I'm gonna let that brush rinse off in the water, and let's grab a different brush. So this is about the same size, so like a size 3 or 4. Brush sizes are not universal across brands, so always keep that in mind. So let's start with a darker color, and I switch brushes just so that I can stay with the dark color and not have it contaminated by those lighter colors that I had on my brush. Okay, so we're going to start putting this in sort of where we want the shadows to be. It's a nice dark value. Okay, I want it darker around this center area. Take some more green. And then we can go around the leaves. Okay, I want to stay cooler on this side, but let's pick up some gray paint and let that kind of come into the mix. Okay, I'm gonna spray my paint with some water that has some slow drying medium in it. And that's just gonna keep my paints workable, keep them from drying out. Okay, let's go straight with the green. And then I'm gonna pick up some white, mix that in with the green. So this is where we're getting a little bit lighter around the edges. We want that value contrast. I'm using the edge of the brush to get a little bit more precise control to get into those smaller areas. Okay, I might just kind of feather some of this white into the center. It's a bit of a highlight. All right, so that looks good. So now let's work on the other side, and that side is going to be getting lighter. So I'm going to take some green paint, just straight green. And let's use that to go around the edge and sort of into the shadow areas. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up this warmer green and let's start blending that in. Okay, I want to get even lighter, so I'm going to switch back to that other brush that I had, and that had some light color in it. Might add some white in there as well. Let's start feathering that in and allowing it to still kind of mix in with the colors that are already there. Take okay, and then we can start to develop this stem down the center. So I'll take the light green and we'll put that here. And then I want it to get darker, so I'll take a dark green and bring that down, just using the tip of the brush, and then allow those colors to mix together. Okay, so now let's work on this leaf here. So for this one, I want it to go dark and then light and then dark around the edge. Okay, so let's take our dark brush. I'll put this other one back in the water and let's pick up some dark color. Can go down the center here. Feather it out. And then I'm going to pick up some gray. Continuing to build that shadow. And then we'll pick up the green. So I'm kind of thinking about the direction of form, and this texture from the flat brush is creating these little kind of texture of the leaf as well. Okay, so now we can get lighter. So let's actually switch brushes. I'm going to pick up the other flat brush that has some light paint already on it. And while that darker color is still wet, let's see if we can feather this color down. Okay, and that's going to give us just a really beautiful gradation of color. And we're using really loose brushstroke techniques. I'm going to add some white here and start putting that in just as a bit of a highlight. Okay, and then I'm going to switch back to the dark color because I want it to be a little bit darker around the outside edge. So we'll take some dark paint and then try to feather that around the outside. Pick up more dark paint. Okay, so I think that looks good. I made a little mistake here. Let's see if we can bring this leaf over and kind of cover that mistake. Okay. All right, so now you want to let this dry completely before we go back in and add some of these final details and highlights onto the leaf, which is going to be sort of the veins and the stem that goes through the center. Okay, so to do that, we're going to use a lighter color. I have this Art Deco or Deco Art Americana. This is a celery shoot craft paint. Let's mix this up. And I love to use a lot of craft paint just because it comes in so many different colors. And you can mix your own, but I just really enjoy having fast pre-mixed colors to use. Okay, and now I'm going to use it's a 2/0 liner brush. This is a script liner brush, and these are really great for getting the finest lines that you possibly can. I'm going to add some water onto this area because when you do this, you want a really watery mix of paint so that you can roll the brush inside of the paint, and that's going to help you get really thin lines. Okay, so let's start with this one here. So it should be fairly dry. I'm going to start with the ones that are already dry here. So I'm going to start at the top and then carefully bring it down. And then let's go over to this side and this side. So just go to the edge of the leaf and then connect it towards the center. Okay, and you can see how this brush will give you these really nice thin lines. Okay, and then let's put that detail on this one on the left. So we can just carefully go down the center. Takes quite a bit of coordination and a steady hand. Okay, so let's put some shorter lines along some of these areas just to give some nice detail. Okay, and then for this one, we'll go down the center, and then it's going to feather out towards the outer edge. You can move your paper if you need to get a better angle. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of add some more lines along the edge for the veins. Okay, and we will call this painting complete. Thank you so much for painting along with me. Please like and subscribe for more painting tutorials. Don't forget to grab your quick start guide down below, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye!